Hi everyone, this is George at Solar Alliance. Let's get this kind of fixed up. Hope you enjoy my wonderful little backdrop here, trying to spruce up my office for, I guess, going live on Facebook. So here's the update with the 2018 CPS solar rebate and the 2019 rebate, what's to come for the future. A lot of conversation about this because in general, CPS has had a great solar rebate program with the STEP program. That's where that money comes from. And ultimately, they're going to renew this solar rebate for an additional $15 million. So that is a great bit of news. However, the rebate, the way it will be broken down will be a little bit different. And I'll get back to that in a couple minutes. But first off, this is that time of the year where we are all kind of on a sprint to not only try to close that solar deal, get the site plans designed, but push that paperwork through to CPS so we can get this contract completed by the end of the year. And you, of course, can enjoy that 30% federal tax credit before you do your taxes. But these CPS rebates, they are designed for us to use all of them until the end of the year. So where we are right now is there's about $1.3 million left in this solar rebate for 2018. When that rebate ends, yes, it has been renewed, but it has been renewed on a different structure. So as far as the emphasis on whatever project might be going on today, or you might be thinking about going on, there's real urgency now. The urgency is real in the fact that currently it is at 70 cents a watt times the rating of the panel times the inverter efficiency and times that 70 cents if it's mission, 60 cents if it's not. And it can cap at $25,000. So I will have quite a bit of rebates that go on an average of about $8,000. I've got this one this week for about $12,000. And to give you an example of this, just so I'm not giving you arbitrary numbers, that will account to about 24% of the entire project. And that rebate will directly reduce the front end cost of that solar system. And it's a great, it's not only a great rebate, but that where that money goes, well, it comes from CPS and it comes to us, the registered contractor, about 6 weeks after this system has been closed off, commissioned, inspected, and then that money is given to us as a contractor. So really the final payment is given to us by CPS, not the homeowner. So there's an extra layer of liability there for that homeowner. Where we are for 2019 is quite a bit different. We might hear some controversy. That CPS stakeholders meeting that I was at today lasted for about 2 hours, lots of questions of kind of how we go. So using that example of 70 cents a watt, and if the system was roughly 10,000 watts, which would probably be about 33 panels, you can expect to see about a $7,000 rebate. Now, in 2019, they are looking at a 60 cent a watt rebate will now turn into a $2,500 across the board rebate and an additional $500 if you're using the local hometown hero Mission Solar for the panels. So quite a bit lower. It's not in concrete yet, but their standpoint is the customer thinks it's going to be a little bit confusing understanding the current rebate. I was quick to discuss that that's not the fault of the customer, but the fault of the contractor for not educating that client and understanding exactly what's happening and how they're getting that money. But they're saying that ultimately this will stretch that budget out longer. So what this looks like is an increase for solar on the rebate side in this Bexar County, San Antonio area. Now, it's still going to be lower than the national average by a lot because energy is so cheap here. We still do have that 30% federal tax credit, but we have been hit with that increase in import tariff. We've also been hit with that 10% import tariff on aluminum as well as steel. So we are forecasting that solar will be more expensive in 2019 than it currently is. I can only assume that quite a bit of people that were kind of sitting on the sidelines thinking about when's this going to happen, maybe it's going to be cheaper. I buy an iPhone today, it's cheaper tomorrow or better tomorrow. Now's the time. And there's urgency. And there's a finite amount of money left. So I really wanted to reach out to everyone and kind of explain how all this worked. Sorry about that, Ron. 25% on steel. So hard times for trackers, gentlemen in tracking as well. But where we move forward here is, capitalism finds a way, takes a course. As a contractor, when I have profitable months, I'm just going to need to reinvest in my team as I always do, but reinvest in the material that we do have on hand and not just kind of hope that it's always going to be there at a great price. As far as the CPS rebate goes, I'm just happy in general that they are still putting money through this. What I do worry about is the pitfalls of, since this rebate is just a flat $2,500 plus $500 if it's mission, but it's no longer based upon the efficiency of the inverter and the efficiency of the panel. Before, we were incentivized to sell the best possible products because we got the most out of the rebate. So to give you an example is, if there was 10 panels and each panel was 300 watts, we would have a 3,000 watt system. Now, if I used a SolarEdge inverter, for example, that was 99% efficient, then I would have to multiply the 3,000 watt system times 70 cents times 0.99, and I would get a little bit less of a rebate because of that 1% loss. But if it's going to be a 6% loss on an inverter versus being a 94% efficient inverter versus a 99, there's no incentive for contractors to be selling the absolute best products out there. There's also not an incentive for people to be placing panels in the correct places, because before, if that rebate was to cover a good chunk of those panels, then people wouldn't be putting panels on the north, northeast, northwest side of this actual house. Now that it's just kind of a flat fee, not that the contractor should be doing it in general, but having those incentives kind of keeps everyone honest. Trying to think of what else kind of goes on right there. Tomorrow I'll be at SolarFest, and I'll be posting the directions and everything else down here at the SolarFest. It's at Hemisphere Park, and it's their tricentennial anniversary, so there'll be a lot of good fun games there, and a whole bunch of contractors really probably telling you what I just told you today, is now it's time to do it because the rebate's not looking as hot next year. But it's a great place to learn, and it's a great place to meet good contractors. So I definitely invite you to come on down there. I think it begins at 10. I think it goes till 4 p.m. Feel free to reach out on some comments, and then we can kind of go from here and just see how we can do this. I personally am going to be sending some before and after proposals to CPS, just so they kind of understand where this rebate takes us, how it does affect the customer. Just to kind of make it better, though. I mean, there's a lot of utility companies out there that have a much worse rebate, and CPS is just kind of saying, these guys got away with it, let's stretch this rebate out. And again, we're grateful that there's just a rebate to reduce the cost of solar. But I think that we need to implement further programs as well as just the rebate itself, if we really want to get costs down for solar. A good example is that with PEC or Austin Energy, they don't have a large solar rebate, but what they do have is they have the cooperation of credit unions to help find them a low-cost, long-term, low-interest loan. And typically dealers, I guess contractors would be considered a loan dealer. they're offering these unsecured loans, which I offer also, and they're great, but they come with dealer fees that typically cost about 10% of the entire contract. So that could be $1,500, even $4,000 of the contract goes straight past the contractor, past the manufacturer, straight just to the bank to offer these long-term loans. Maybe if CPS can similarly do what Austin Energy, what PEC has done, connected us with those local credit unions, kind of made it a little more of a seamless transition for that loan, then I think that maybe we could not get back half the money we lost, but ultimately we could redisperse how we align this contract where the client doesn't have to pay so much. That doesn't go to hard costs, but goes to things like just loans. I think that that might be a solution, but if anyone wants to talk about this, I would love to continue building a strong case and sending it back to Olivia Gomez, sending it back to Ray Martinez, sending it back to Mr. Rick Luna at CPS, and kind of show him where a system was in 2017, 2018 in cost, what the return is, and what it will be in 2019 with this lower rebate, and as well as these imposed import tariffs that majority of us will be affected by. So thank you so much for listening. I guess I hopefully will see you at SolarFest. If not, reach out to us. Thanks. Bye.